everyone, and I mean everyone, buys Harley Davidson motorcycles, you should too.
So here's a cool sounding Harley.
The ability for you to pick up members of the opposite sex. They're envious of Harley Davidson riders. Have I been drinking the Harley Davidson marketing Kool-Aid? Hi, my name's Eamon. Welcome to the channel. Let's talk about why everyone, and I mean everyone, buys Harley Davidson motorcycles as opposed to any other brand. Let's talk about why you should too. So let's ask the question, am I just a fanboy who can't think straight? Have I been drinking the Harley Davidson marketing Kool-Aid? What do you think? So these questions are going to be answered, and I've got 5 compelling reasons why everyone's buying Harley Davidson motorcycles. So then at the end of the video, I've got a bonus reason which is very compelling, and it does involve members of the opposite sex. So make sure you hang around for that one. It is a classic. So with so many great motorcycle brands and models around, why are people flocking to Harley Davidsons? Is it just a war between pirate gear and Power Ranger gear? Or is there something more to the Harley Davidson motorcycle? Let's get into it. Why are they dominating the large motorcycle segment of the market? I'm talking about cruisers, not little postie bikes and off-road motorcycles, that sort of thing. I'm talking about big road cruisers. So what's a cruiser? A cruiser is really just a big road-going motorcycle that's aimed at comfort, travel, and luxury. So if you've got a better definition of a cruiser, let me know in the comments, but I think that would pretty much cover it. So business analysts are saying that the cruiser market is continuing to grow and will do so right into 2030. And in the United States, I think 40% of the road-going motorcycles are Harley Davidsons. So they really are dominating the market. Here in Australia, the most popular model, besides the little Honda Postman's bike, is the Harley Davidson Breakout. Even in a down year, in the United States this year, for example, which is a down year for motorcycles and for Harley Davidson, they're still dominating the market with 21% of motorcycle sales compared to their next rival, which is Honda, at about 17%. Now, Honda, of course, in those figures, Honda's got a lot of off-road vehicles, so you can really see the domination of Harley Davidson, and there are good reasons why. So just in case you think I'm a Harley fanboy, I have actually owned other motorcycles, other brands, and some of them have been fantastic. Here's me on my Kawasaki getting inspired by Ghost Rider and Max Wrist. Let me know what you think, because here on YouTube we live or die by the thumbs up and the thumbs down, and the thumbs up, of course, is free, so get into it. Reason is probably the sound of the motorcycle. Harley Davidsons have a distinct tune to them, which is music to a lot of enthusiasts' ears. And yes, of course, there are other bikes that have good sounding engines as well, but Harley Davidson has a distinct sound. That sound is achieved by their signature V-twin configuration, where the cylinders are set at 45 degrees to each other, and the 2 pistons are held with one single crankshaft pin. The spark plugs fire at uneven intervals, and that's how they get that distinct bang bang or pop pop pause sound that is unique to Harley Davidsons. Now, I guess if you're riding a metric bike and you're used to that beautiful smooth running engine, it's going to sound like there's something wrong with it because of that characteristic.
So here's a cool sounding Harley.
Now this particular engine configuration is harder to balance, and that's where you get the vibrations that you get in the Harley Davidson. Now I know that with the newer engines they had to deliberately leave some of that vibration in, but as you go back in time and look at the older engines, you can really Well, they vibrate a lot more than these newer bikes do. But the beauty of the sound with the Harley Davidson motorcycle is it creates the feel of the motorcycle. That's part of the reason many people think that that a Harley has soul. So, and when it comes to sound, it's interesting to see, like, each of the engines has a distinct sound of its own. But you know, as we get to the newer engines, now that we have the M8 engine, people are trying to recreate the sound of the twin cam. Well, I remember when the twin cams came out, people were trying to recreate the sound of the Evo, and it probably goes back further and further because a lot of people will say that the shovel has the nicest and most distinct sound of all of the Harleys. That, of course, is open to debate. So let me know which of the Harley engines you think has the best sound. Now, reason number 2 is torque. Now, torque is the ability for the engine to turn a load, I believe. If that's wrong, put that into the comments. The beauty about torque is, and Harley Davidsons are very high in torque at very low revs. And the beauty of that particular characteristic is the motorcycle is very, very easy to ride. It's easy to ride for a number of reasons. You don't have to think too much about what you're doing, and you don't have to be in the right gear for the right speed. You can actually take off in second gear if you're really, really lazy. Now, of course, you don't have to ride it in that lazy way. You can ride them quite aggressively, but they have a lot of torque, a lot of ability to move the motorcycle at very low rev ranges. It makes the motorcycle a lot of fun to ride, and it makes it very easy to ride. And what I mean easy, I don't mean it's mechanically or technically easier than another motorcycle. What I mean is it's a more relaxed, easy ride. So you don't have to think as hard, you don't have to push as hard, you don't have to ride as aggressively if you don't want. Now, of course, you can ride them very aggressively, and you can, especially with these later models, get those horsepower and torque numbers up quite high, especially for a cruiser. Now, reason number 3 is comfort. You've got to say, Harleys are way more comfortable than any other motorcycle on the market. And one of the reasons is you can actually change many things about them, like the seat. So you can get yourself a road sofa with a backrest if you want. And they're designed for travel. They're designed for carrying passengers and carrying luggage, etc. And they are very comfortable motorcycles. Every Harley I've had has been super comfortable, and deliberately so. You want comfort, especially if you're going on long trips. I had a ZX9R sports bike, and I also rode quite a few ZX7R sports bikes. So you're basically riding in the push-up position, and it's incredibly tiring and uncomfortable. And often when I buy sports bikes, I have good intentions of riding them through the twisties and having a lot of fun, but half the time I'm absolutely exhausted by the time I get somewhere that's got good windy roads. They're pretty uncomfortable relative to a Harley where you're sitting upright, and sometimes you've got your legs stretched out, sometimes not. You have the ability to change the seat to pretty much anything that gives you more comfortable. You can even get like riders' backrests for them, and of course you can still ride your Harley through the twisties and ride it very aggressively. That's not a problem. Just not like a sports bike, of course. But there's that cliched saying of it's a lot more fun riding a slow bike fast than it is riding a fast bike slow. And let's face it, on our roads, unless you really want to go somewhere remote, it's pretty hard, well, in Australia anyway, it's pretty hard to get anywhere near the limits of a sports bike. All right, number 4. Number 4 is resale value. Harley Davidsons hold their resale value really, really well compared to other brands. Now, of course, it's a weird time at the moment, and the economy is doing some interesting things. So all second-hand vehicles seem to have a high price tag. But under normal or more normal circumstances, Harleys always hold their value really well, in particular here in Australia, and I suspect that is happening in all countries. America seems to be the luckiest, where a second-hand buyer can get a much better deal. Now, let me know what it's like in your country, whether Harleys are holding their value or not. But certainly, there is no other brand that is a comparison. I bet you I'm wrong with that. I bet you, who knows? I bet you there'll be another brand, probably Ducatis or something, will hold their value. Now, do you know of any other brand that holds their value like Harley Davidson? And I don't mean like near new, like have a look at a 20-year-old well-kept Harley Davidson here in Australia that they still bring good prices. The only time I've really seen a dip in the prices of Harley Davidson motorcycles was probably 10, 12 years ago in the financial crisis, or around that time. The Australian dollar went sky high, on par and even above the United States dollar for a while, and there was a massive flood of grey imports coming into the country, and so there were a lot of second-hand Harleys on the market, and the price did dip, but they still held their prices. So resale value is a great reason to have a Harley Davidson. Now, reason number 5 is longevity. They seem to last a lot longer than other brands. And there's probably a few reasons for that. One of them is they are, I don't know, a tough, robust engine, especially some of the older ones. I guess with the M8, it's too early to tell. There's also a huge availability of parts all over the world. You can very easily source parts for older Harley Davidsons and keep them going. Try that with some of the Japanese brands. It's almost impossible, or you're paying a fortune. They also hang around for a long time because the styling is classic. It never changes. You know, I sometimes see comments where people go, "I'm not paying for that. The motorcycle looks exactly the same as it did last year and the year before and 10 years ago, etc." Well, that's pretty much right. The Street Glide shape that I've got is pretty much the same. There are changes, but they're deliberately keeping it like that because all us old dudes like it. I like the way they look and I don't want them to change. So that adds to their longevity, and you can add to that there is a huge fanboy base of people who love Harleys and are keeping them around. And that's probably also to do with the classic shape. If you look at the Japanese brands, some of them would look fantastic with a different paint job, but generally speaking, they're not really designs that are going to age well. I think my Street Glide is going to look good in 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Well, they're not going to look out of fashion, I should say. So they're also easier than other brands to work on. Probably not every other brand, but they are easy, generally speaking, they are easy motorcycles to work on. They're also, they're high torque motorcycles, so they're running at lower revs, which I assume will add to their longevity. What more can I say? All you've got to do is look at the used motorcycle ads and you'll see there are plenty of old Harley Davidsons compared to the other brands. So let's get to my favourite reason, and that is Harley Davidsons have a cool factor, or an X factor. They've got they're alive and they've got a soul. They are seriously cool motorcycles. Now, I'm probably biased in that, but I think a lot of people in the world are going to agree with me. One of the reasons they're really cool is because you get to wear pirate gear instead of Power Ranger gear. And if we're having a battle of the Pirates versus the Power Rangers, I think it's an easy win for the pirate gear. I've had my own Power Ranger gear before, and I guarantee you it's easier getting around in pirate gear than it is in Power Ranger gear if you want to stop somewhere and get off your bike. Now, one of the reasons they are a lot cooler than other brands is the intense ability to customize them and turn them into pretty much anything. If you ever look at the custom bike scene, you've got sensational bikes that look incredibly cool, and again, it depends on your taste, but I don't think there are many other brands, if any, that you can say the same thing for. Yes, there are other cool looking bikes, but we're talking generalizations. And Harley Davidson on the whole is way cooler when it comes to customization. Now, one of the other things that adds to their cool factor is their presence on the road. If you see a Harley Davidson, it has a lot of presence on the road. I can tell you right now from riding all sorts of bikes, if I'm on the road in traffic and I'm riding a Japanese brand, people will try and knock me off my bike if I'm going through the traffic, or if there's any reason to get too close. If I'm on a Harley Davidson, people get out of my way. Now, is that presence? I don't know. Maybe that's fear. Maybe the public has fear of Harley Davidson riders, but they certainly do have a lot of presence. All you've got to do is put two rival brands next to a Harley Davidson motorcycle and you'll see the difference. Now, what do you do if you're not cool and you want to ride a Harley Davidson? How do you make yourself cooler? Well, the easiest way, and this is very popular with Harley Davidson riders, is you just rev your motorcycle a lot at the traffic lights. That makes you a lot cooler.
You guys know that everyone thinks you're total fags, right? Just wanted to let you know.
Now, the last part of the cool factor is the ability for you, whether you're male or female, the ability for you to pick up members of the opposite sex when you're riding a Harley Davidson. And I'm going to compare that with another brand. So I'm going to put up a picture of me, and you know, you got to remember surely I'm a handsome dude, and here I am at 19 riding a very cool Kawasaki Z1000, a 1978 model. This was in the early 80s when I was a wee lad of 19. And of course, this bike's straight out of Mad Max, so very desirable at the time, very high in cool factor, not as much as a Harley, but very, very close. Of course, I'm at my peak, and it's taken me 4 hours, 32 minutes, and I think 17 or maybe 18, 19 seconds to get that lovely woman on the back of my bike. Now, let's compare that to a Harley Davidson. If we look at the classic documentary, Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man, it's a real-life documentary featuring, what's his name, Mickey Rourke. Now, Mickey Rourke, way older than me, nothing going for him. And of course, look how easily on his Harley he's picked up that woman and got her on the back. Less than 60 seconds. So let me know what your favourite reason for having a Harley Davidson motorcycle is, or your favourite reason for not having one. Now, whenever we talk about cool factor, people who don't ride Harleys always get upset and then they start throwing the derogatory comments at the Harley riders. All I can say is it's envy. That's the way envy works. They're envious of Harley Davidson riders, so they shut down and they start saying we pay too much, the motorcycles are slow, old technology. We've had plenty of Harleys built that can beat a sports bike up to the speed limit anyway. And of course that's what we must obey. So all you non-Harley Davidson riders who are upset and angry, let me tell you, it's envy, and you should right now get yourself a Harley Davidson motorcycle before it's too late. You're going to miss out on a lot of fun. So let me know what you think. If you're a Harley hater, put it in the comments. Let me know which brand you ride and what's better. If you're a Harley lover like I am, and if you've got a lot of cool factor, let me know. Don't forget to support your motorcycle creators. Likes are free. If you hated the video, death to Eamon, give me the thumbs down. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. That way you'll get notified when the next video comes out. Let me know what you want videos on.